Her Purple Past, Part 2. Sunlight surged as bells are tolled, dawn choruses were sung. 80 dainty feet felt cold as from warmed cots they sprung. 80 dainty feet felt chilled, but in two loins grew heat, and in both hearts a fire filled, for whence the next they'd meet. Amelia Ambrose. All day they've tried to teach us, as we bake the leavened bread, that chastity's for Jesus, yet heaven's in your bed. I've had religious visions every hour, yet not the Christ, as I've sweated in the kitchens, as I've fantasized our tryst. I've sweltered stoking ovens, and it wasn't from the blaze, and cried whilst peeling onions in a passion-powered haze. So I'll love if you'll continue with the memoirs that you've amassed, to tell me what's within you and to share your purple past. Julie d'Aubigny. Listen, my delicious, I'll speak beneath the sheets, as I sense some are suspicious that we try each other's treats. I was taken as his lover to great gaudy opulence, there to delight discover a pack of prominence. Was an interested observer that he strutted past my school. Now I fancied him much further, taking his Titanic tool. Warm-hearted plus was Randy, a lustly kindly fop, and the mammoth-membered dandy poached my cherry with a pop. My first time so tremendous that I thrummed from being thrilled, and the orgasms were endless as my quim long last was filled. All night without an ending, Fooey almost sang with joy. I joined in, not pretending that I was still a boy. In class the foulest swearer, like a trooper on a tour, but I clammed it to seem fairer, as to fool him I demur. But I couldn't fucking help it when Louis hit the mark, though to cover I misspelt it and kept on yelling, "Fuck!" He whisked me to the city, to the Louvre, to his hotel, where I coached by a committee and was labelled Mademoiselle. They taught articulation, but piss on P's and Q's. I held my own narration, nor did not conceal my views. I frequent ruffled feathers, as my tongue was a primed bomb, exploding in whatevers, if admonished at a prom. I learned to be a lady, but often at a ball was asked to glug the gravy of seigneurs in the hall. Was told to jug the custard by some upper-crusted fools and stay perfectly unflustered as I crushed their family jewels. I got to see the Sun King and made his highness laugh by stimulating spanking his son, which froze the staff. I felt like the goddess Venus, for I'd fallen in a dream, and aside his lion's penis, he a cat that got the cream. He a pussy on the pillow, yet he armoured on parade, like a human armadillo, and I liked the way he laid. A sexual awakening, as good as one could get, and of my participation in, still glad as get foo wet. Each bedroom of the palace we rutted gale force, and I rode that massive phallus like was saddled on a horse. In all the halls and half the closets whence I volunteered the ring, for accepting his deposits I had lessons how to sing. He paid an opera tutor, as I'd offered chamber choice, who said I had a future on a stage with such a voice. I sang songs like a soprano, cracking glass if he hit the clit, though he stated no one can know why his mistress shy to sit. I set as my life's mission, this vocalistic goal, my magnificent ambition, the fee of flared boo-hole. Time polished my coarse edges, honed like a hunting knife, though the fling flung a few wedges which antagonised his wife. For one, I wasn't married, and two, my tender age, and three, I always parried when she shouted in a rage. Catherine couldn't handle any mistresses unwed, more so than of the scandal of a teen that shared his bed. She persisted and insisted someone seek me a decent man, and her frilly knickers twisted till I married Monsieur Maupin. Fuck knows where they found him, this inspectorate of tax, but I purred he'd get a pounding that same night if he'd relax. At our wedding got him sweating, for I'd muttered sexy smut, but it droopy with the dreading so he couldn't make the cut. The next night I crept coyly, cooing gentle words espoused, though my redded muff all oily, John Maupin was not aroused. I mind the dominating madam, hope reach Eden on the third, but the pede craved an Adam, not an Eve, the little turd. Knew now the kinky into, as my charms did not entice, I suspected at our intro, but assured he was just nice. Pecker's what he into, a patron of Italian vice. Was not a fan of fannies, as his loins remained unstirred, so I pulled back up my panties and I left without a word. I told my throbbing lover that my chosen husband's gay, so he sent him off recover, small town taxis far away. My marriage wasn't working for flaccidity issues, and just a touch of twerking got the spouse sent to Toulouse. not so keen on sharing as grandiloquently vain, Lewis eloquent declaring, from here on my solo swain. 'Twas a haversack of flannel, his sincerity speech, for he wished another's channel, as in taste another's breach. We had a year of ardour, which had fizzled, which I knew, now he looking in the larder, seek ploughsome's pastures new. Once vape my pallid marriage, our relationship ran dry, yet his wife had to her hurried, flashed her enamoured eye. My husband wanted Adam, so that intercourse was dust, but after I turned Madam, Catherine looked at me in lust. Shot of that shameful marriage, and our affair went sour, as the philanderer in forage sought more maidens to deflower. So promising yours truly, whence he shagged another dame, it would almost be a duty with his kin to do the same. And I noticed at a function greedy pornographic eyes, then I caught him in conjunction twixt their au pair's open thighs. So it happened quite abruptly that I took to bed his bride, and it positively lovely, the first fanoir that I tried. Akin Korean china, though so supple, oven warmed, as a virgin with vagina, that time on I was transformed. Ooh la la, a valley fervent, le femme fornication fine, that whence he sexed a servant, I went back a second time. At the very next fiesta, saw him fucking on the lawn, and I smiled as I addressed her, pledged to screw his spawn. The future Count of Bryan I banged, brimming full of mirth, and it seemed to lost the neon, for no play nor no girth. I tried put the brakes on Henry, for he humped a harried hare to slow his skinny pee-pee, but the rabbit didn't care. I found Louis went to orgies in Versailles from time to time, so I stored exotic stories as his daughters next in line. I had Maria, then Marguerite, both beauties fine and fair. Though Marguerite was more discreet, Marie, she had more flair. I found him in a foursome, so his second son I had, and Charles was pretty awesome, though not as fine as Dad. I so embarrassed Francis, he went become a priest. He was but petit foie gras, a doughboy, less the yeast. Was so absurdly flabby, I found find his feeble cock. He ordained in Royamant Abbey, whence became a laughing stock. I dined deeper down the menu for his perfidy to pay, to include a niece and nephew, and increase my resume. The Comte couldn't manage, keep it buttoned in his pants, which I used to my advantage in seduction of some aunts. His cousins by the dozens, till I climbed the family tree, their wives with oft-times husbands, a chevalier, a marquis. At every lavish gala, at every ritzy dance, I'd buck like an impala, and I'd root them to a trance. I gnawed knobs of the nobility, made noble women sweat, with shameless hot agility they'd never such forget. I sashayed through each soirée with an uber confiance, and I glided via the palais, if summoned by séance. I was proud my acquisitions, 'twas rare that I said no, but I passed on propositions of a shady one called moi. That Hidalgo was a talker, but his talk was bullock shit, and he turned into a stalker, so I split his moistened lip. The balls were getting boring, and I cherished a new quest. There'd been quite enough sex-exploring, and Fooey needed rest. The ladies spouting fables sounded dumb to me and twee, so I slated for the stables, find some boisterousity. I skipped wigs to seek the wigless, needed masculinity, as I started to give a fig less for toxic pomposity. I commenced in spending ages in the backyards at Versailles, those pleasant times with pages and a seigneur from Marseille. A man who owned a chateau, a swordsman called Saran, as handsome as was macho, who fulfilled my master plan. Zut alors, Saran so hairy, and such a rapier wit, that his parried commentary gained him access to my kit. I'll cease now, sweet Ambrosia, as it is getting light, to continue my exposure. Come again, and to tonight.